you've just mastered the basics. It's roughly 3,000 hours you've put in to get to this point. Now the real learning begins. Mastery develops later. So it's instinctual. Someone throws a punch at you, you know how to deflect it. And isn't that true in life? When we get punched or people attempt to punch us, and after you've been socked a few times, you might slip that jab. You might slip that lawsuit. You might slip that fraudster. All of that comes through experience, doesn't it? Or you get punched again and then it hurts.
Step into the world of success with your brand amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. How delightful to learn that my guest, Mitch Carson, who I think of as Mr. Las Vegas, actually has an affinity for Thailand, much like myself. Mitch, I'm really excited to have you on here. What you do, what you give to the world is something that people are still constantly trying to figure out. I'm working with some different business leaders, entrepreneurs who are starting a podcast, want to write a book, want to get more speaking engagements. And with all of the different platforms out today, it's really hard to figure out how to stand out. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Annika. It's my pleasure. And Kap Kun Krap, that's my limited Thai, very, very Farang sounding. After all my years of spending in Thailand, I still have a strong accent. Probably won't shake it.
Yeah. Well, my Panaika. And at least you're trying.
Yes.
So that's the important part. So let's talk about your background and even your current day-to-day. You've been working in the field for 3 decades. You have not only been a speaker many times yourself, a guest on podcasts, hosting a podcast. You have a show on NBC Channel 3 Las Vegas, but you also figured out a way to pivot and an interest in pivoting to help others do the same. So what got you started in the first place?
A need. It goes back, the story, the origin story, as I was an introverted bookworm and never envisioned doing anything outside of possibly academia at one point in my life. And the life took a turn. I mean, people have their stories. I grew up with privilege in Beverly Hills, and then both parents died suddenly at age 22 while I was attending USC. Downtown LA. I know that you do some work with them. And my life took a hard left in terms of I went down a real bad spiral of alcohol and drug addiction. And recently, July 1st, I celebrated 41 years clean and sober.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's my biggest achievement. And it caused, through pain, it leads to change, leads to opportunity. So I don't suggest anybody have those type of circumstances in their life, but sometimes we can't choose it. And I had no control over the situation, but I had control over how I managed it and grew from it. And, no pain, no gain. That's been around in the fitness industry and in life. If you don't flex those muscles in some way to manage stress, manage change, you either pivot or perish. And I chose to pivot. And then I got into the speaking business because I was asked to speak at meetings with others. I never envisioned to be a speaker. I was quite shy. That all changed. And then I realized, okay, I'm fairly decent at this. It got better because I came from the heart. I didn't know the mechanics of speaking. I went into the communication department and learned to speak every week because that was required. Speech was one class, but I had to speak in every class and ended up graduating with a BA in communication in the Department of Journalism over there, Annenberg School.
My school. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why I'm mentioning that specifically. Like your Tommy Trojan, it's right there. Fast forward, I got into selling products on Home Shopping Network in the 90s. I traveled the world as a speaker, 63 countries and counting. I'm not done yet, but I've been around the world. Had a show on CNN in the Philippines. I have embraced media around the world. and spoken on stages with some very big name people. I'm not going to name drop, but a lot of you would know, to where I then realized the power of books, because all big name speakers that I shared the stages with, as well as presidents and people of that level, all had books. I learned the power of books. I knew the power of television. I knew the power of newspapers being published in big print publications, which are now fading quickly. And you then have to go into online. Well, podcasts was something that I poo-pooed. I thought, these people aren't even journalists. They haven't gone through broadcast journalism. They don't know how to interview people properly. They don't understand how to engage a guest. I was wrong. Some of them do not. It's an easy platform to access, but not everyone is great at it. But you either get better at it or you don't have any numbers to support it. I mean, you're a top podcaster. You've obviously done something right. And so I'm here to learn from you.
Oh, thank you. Well, practice. Just as you said, you're introverted. I also was introverted, and I knew that I had a voice that others didn't see in me. And I knew this back in elementary school. So I started making myself get more involved in theater, in, performance, in just putting myself in uncomfortable situations. And then it got really easy. And now it's one of my favorite things to do. And I get to do a lot of speaking, whether it's seminars, great interviews where I get to actually speak to really fascinating people, share their stories, their journeys, and then hopefully call you a friend after this.
I'll be your friend. I live far away, but we can wave on Riverside or any other of those platforms.
Right. Or one of the times that I'm in Thailand. So absolutely. And then teaching students, of course. So there's this great energetic exchange, and it also gets better. And every form is different, right? So when you start podcasting, that, like you said, it's a different form of medium, and it takes a while to get into the rhythm. And then I'm like, every 50 episodes or 100 episodes, I feel like I up level, and the way I interview changes slightly. And the way maybe I want to produce the show changes slightly. But that's great, because then I'm still having a growth and learning opportunity. And I want to get better and better as well, because I want to serve the audience.
Well, and that's why I guested on 72 shows before I started my own podcast. And I started my own podcast just a month ago. But I've been interviewing 3 to 5 people a day because I'm crazy and I want to get good fast. I don't like to wait. I'm a doer, not a thinker. I'll discover the thinking later. I'll sort it out. I'm probably doing a lot of things wrong, but I'll get better at it. And there is a book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Outliers. And he has a component that I can relate to. It's called 10,000 hours. If you've put in the time, like you just mentioned, you're a prolific podcaster. You've got all the rankings and validation out there because of your numbers. You've got all sorts of services that you're able to add on. You have sponsors. You have risen to the top of the podcast platform. Others, most never make it there. And the 10,000 hours is you've got to put in the time to realize this. And it was so true. I taught martial arts for years. That's how I worked myself through college. I taught Taekwondo downtown at the Jonathan Club. So I was a member as a little boy. My grandpa was a member. So I worked out there and then ended up teaching a class. And one of the things that I mentioned to all the people that I awarded their black belts to, you've just mastered the basics. It's roughly 2,000-3,000 hours you've put in to get to this point. Now the real learning begins. Mastery develops later. So it's instinctual. Someone throws a punch at you, you know how to deflect it. And isn't that true in life? When we get punched or people attempt to punch us, and after you've been socked a few times, you might slip that jab. You might slip that lawsuit. You might slip that fraudster. All of that comes through experience, doesn't it? Or you get punched again and then it hurts.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. And it is so true. I work at this craft. I don't just sit on my laurels, right? And that's what you have to do. Particularly if you're an independent, small podcaster, funding it yourself, right, to start, you want to try everything out. I know that's something that you also mentioned, is you wanted to try all these different formats and all these different things to make sure that there was something that had value to you and then also to the people that you now work with. So you have, books out, you have a podcast now, you've been a prolific guest, you've hosted many shows.
Not all uploaded, but I've recorded about 100 shows.
Wow.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
done in a short period of time.
Yeah. A very short period of time. So talk about how that led you to helping other people achieve their goals of being on stage, of monetizing their businesses by having a bigger platform.
I got into, as a professional speaker now, a little over 41 years, been doing this. You're getting paid to speak and more as a salesman from the stage. I do keynotes. I've done everything in the speaking business. I've produced and or spoken on over 2,000 stages in my life. What I found as a producer, the job of a producer is to put butts in seats. I'm referring to the live event format. And it's no different when the virtual events into life because of the pandemic. The job of the producer is get butts in seats, get people online at a specific time so they can consume the information of the guests that's there. If I were to produce a podcast summit, which I'm going to do when I go back to Asia for a bunch of Asian podcasters, and I can tell you already, I'm going to extend you an invitation.
And I can tell you I'll be there.
And I know how to produce events. This is one of my core competencies, is producing events. But I also know what the mechanics are of producing a solid event. The speakers need to have media behind them. How colorful is their bouquet of feathers? Are they peacocking properly? Are their colors all done? How do they peacock? Have they written books? Have they spoken on prestigious stages? What media have they been in? Do they have a podcast? All of those are boxes that need to be ticked, or you get lost in obscurity. What do you do to be distinctive? And it can come in many forms. I mean, you're a prolific podcaster. At least that's part of your core. I don't know everything about you. I'm going to interview you soon too. So I'll learn about you. But I know that there's a formula. It's a roadmap. And if you don't follow the formula, how are you distinctive? I learned that it was media. So I've been on television for a long time. I then became a pitchman on Home Shopping Network in the 90s. Did that for about 3 years, taught me media, how to work a camera, how to engage people, how to sell people, persuading them to buy whatever it is. Product, service, doesn't matter. I know how to pitch it. Because if you either do it or you're fired. And I haven't been as successful with the podcast as I would like yet, but I will, because I know what it takes. I have an advantage over most people that get into this because I've been in media for so many years, and many of the skills are transferable. Not all. There's no arrogance coming in. Well, I know this with a puffed chest. I don't mean it. I'm a senior citizen. I don't have a puffed chest anymore. I'm over 60. I know that I can't stop. Yet I do know what it takes for attention. And you got to have LinkedIn today. Social media is important. I do believe TV for people who are 45 plus appreciate. Anybody under 30, that was what grandpa watched, with a pipe in his mouth, rocking back and forth when I was sitting on his lap. They don't appreciate it. But at some point I made the pivot, Annika. Podcast I used to poo-poo, thinking these people have no training. It was my snobbery of being a journalist, realizing, no, I was wrong. It's either Joe Rogan, my gosh. And then there was another lady recently I read about, Mel Robbins. I think she is big time with her podcast and her books. They all work in tandem today. That's why I'm all in. It's like, I feel like I need to play catch up.
Yeah. Well, it's never too late to start the journey. And what's interesting, though, is that podcast started as an audio, and now Spotify wants us to put videos of our episodes so that people can watch the video or listen to the audio. YouTube has both, right? So we're shifting back to video first content.
But it started as an audio platform. And I explained, and I wanted to find out the science of it. And I talked about podcasting recently at an event in Thailand. Just a week and a half ago, I was there, and I'm in America now, and I'm going back next week to Thailand. And I spoke to this group of AI. It was an AI-focused event, 8 days long. And I spoke about podcasting and said, guys, think about this. Let's go back to our reptilian brains. Audio is first. Who talks in our ears first? Our mothers. It's trusted. Audiobooks are going up. The line of consumption echoes that of audiobooks. They get consumed at a higher rate than written books. I still like physical books personally, but the audiobooks are growing year over year. And it's because it's a trusted platform. It goes in our ears like mama used to talk to us sweetly. So I understand why you're so successful. You probably do a lot of things right. And one of them is you've got a great voice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you do. That. You have a mother's voice. You mentioned that you're a mother. No surprise. It's a trusted voice. You've got a trusting face. And the visual component, you're a nice looking lady. I'm not flirting, observing facts. You're a nice looking lady. All of that matters when people want to connect. Looks matter. And Joe Rogan is an exception. He doesn't look great, but he's got incredible media because of the UFC as an announcer all the time. So how did you get into this? I'm curious.
You know, as a business owner myself, I can tell you that finding the right people to hire is absolutely brutal. You post a job, get flooded with hundreds of resumes, but somehow still can't find anyone with the actual skills you need. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/work. Here's what makes ZipRecruiter different. Their smart technology actually identifies the top talent for your specific roles super quickly. The moment you post your job, their matching system starts showing you qualified candidates immediately. Plus, you can reach out to your favorite candidates right away using their pre-written invite to apply messages. No more waiting around, hoping someone will notice your post. Ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/work. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/work. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Oh, wow. Funnily enough, I grew up in Kansas, lived in Chicago, moved to LA, San Francisco, back to LA, Houston, and now I'm back in the LA area for a third time. In Houston, I did a lot of events for nonprofits. So I would pair them with, that was when it was starting to get big to pair products, services, brands with nonprofits because they wanted to show that they had a value in the community, right? Mm-hmm. And they wanted to give back. And so I was doing a lot of events around that, sharing a lot of luncheons, galas. And out of that came a woman into my life, Jacqueline Aludo, who had a concept called Real Beauty, Real Women. And she had been in New York and producing things and asked me if I would host a show for her. And it was a terrestrial and digital radio show. And it wasn't paid, but I thought it was interesting because it was all about interviewing people who were doing good in the community. So I was like, sign me up. And then the show got bigger and we started having sets and doing Facebook Live. She was very professional. We had a commercial, we had an intro with the hosts and the sub-hosts coming in and introducing us. And then we'd have commercial breaks. So for the viewer, we'd move from set to set because I had a social club in downtown LA, not a drinking club, but really for people to, when you move to a city, it's hard to connect and find the right people who want to do the same things with you, whether it's go to fashion events or support local charities or propel your business forward. So we had a fairly large space for that. And so we would do a segment, put on commercials and run to the next room, do another segment. And it was really fun. And that was the first time I had emceed things. One of the biggest things I emceed was Play Girl Magazine's 25th anniversary search. And this is in 1996, I think. So, I always loved hosting, emceeing. So this was a natural thing where I was like, yeah, I'd love to do this. I love especially lifting up other people's messages because that's really what my mission is. And so then when I moved to LA, I had clients in my PR firm who wanted me to do podcasts for them, which was fantastic, except no budgets, not really understanding how to use it as a marketing tool, right? I was hosting, but I wasn't paying myself because I was paying my team to create assets and edit. And so then my boyfriend is a filmmaker. He said, why don't you just do your own show? And it was kind of a no-brainer. And it's morphed a lot from that first time period where I was sporadic, didn't take it very seriously, and then realized that I had a platform. And I had a platform that could help share other people's stories and journeys. And how much fun is that, right? How much fun is it to get to meet people? And now I have this amazing network of people all doing great things so I can go back to and introduce them to other people, or just have a call to see how we're doing and how we can support each other. So that's really how it started, and that's how it grew. And then now I have a podcast at USC as well. And I'm starting a podcast about AI and education.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to switch the table.
Yeah.
I'll do that later. As my type A personality reared its ugly head.
You can tell that you're used to hosting. And I imagine this is how you get people to feel really comfortable with you if they're thinking about hiring you to help them and propel them, as you've coined, kind of instant celebrities.
Yes. Well, it's a multi-pronged effect. It builds around a book. If you truly want to be an expert in most fields, my experience has been are you published? In the world of professors, I mean, you work at USC and teach there, you either publish or perish as a PhD. In the world of experts or authorities, you have to be out there in the media. Today's easiest platform to get into is podcasting. To be a host on TV is years of work and luck to get a position. It's not easy. Even though it's not as revered as it once is, I think it's still difficult. The path to get there, to be a host, you got to do a lot of grunt work. You got to put in pay your dues. There are intern work, starts. Still at the TV stations here in Vegas, they have interns running around because they want to work in TV and they're paid nothing or squat. Whereas podcasting, you can start making money very quickly. When did you turn it to money?
Here you go. We will definitely talk about all of this on your podcast. I know these are some questions that you had for me. And I do love this, but I really want to hear more about you and what you're doing and what you've seen over time. You've been telling us a little bit about this, but going back to, you said that you've been in Thailand, but you came back because you're recording for your show. You're also working with some clients. What does that work look like today versus what it looked like when you started helping others?
I, for years, was a professional speaker, traveling the globe, selling my services or products to audiences, mostly in the marketing arena. I owned an ad agency in LA for years until 2008, when I sold it to Halo Branded Solutions, which is a listed company. They're about $1 billion in revenue, and they swooped me up, all because I started the D word process called divorce and had to pay off that situation. It happens. I was married to my lawyer. I'm super smart. The problem is she went to UCLA and I went to SC. Kidding aside. But I learned, Annika, the process of speaking, books, having a platform, all coexist. Yeah, you have to have it all. You can speak. I found great success doing LinkedIn live events. That's another platform. I use that. That was good. I enjoy the in-person where I can shake somebody's hand, much more gratifying personally, because that was my background. I learned the virtual game because of the pandemic, and that's fine. And today we're in a hybrid world. I still like an event that's in person. As I mentioned, I'm going to produce a podcast summit. You, of course, have already got an invitation. There will be several that'll be able to share your success and then turn it into money later, hopefully. But the importance is, how are these people celebrated? What makes somebody different? Because in the world, you've got to have the most colorful feathers back there. I mean, how does the male peacock land the female and screaming? Have you ever heard a peacock scream? You can hear them from a mile away. Oh my gosh, they're loud. Yeah. And the noise, how do you separate yourself in the noise? And the podcast platform is fantastic. It's the easiest way. I make connections with somebody right away. It's one to many. Well, it's one to one to start, and then you access their many clients. So what I do today, why I bring clients in, is I'm meeting a bunch of people. I'm a host on NBC Channel 3. I have a show called The Amazing Authorities, and I have a show called The Amazing Authorities Podcast. It links. That doesn't air on NBC, but the clients that are coming in will be on NBC. And I'm a contract host. I'm not an employee of NBC. I'm a host contracts. I air my shows through them just for that distinction, for clarity. So I don't have, their lawyers calling me. Disclaimer, clarity. But I also guarantee exposure in 2 days on all 4 networks here in Vegas: CW, NBC, ABC, and CBS. Fox, I don't work with. They're a bit challenging, but the other 4 networks, the CW and NBC are under the Sinclair Broadcasting family, but ABC and CBS, I have great relationships. Those are live shows here in Vegas, and they know if I bring a guest in, they're already vetted and trained for media, because speaking for 4 minutes or less is a skill set. It's not like a podcast. We can interrupt each other and have fun. It's conversational. Not for TV, ladies and gentlemen. You have to be on point, speak in sound bites, and follow the lead of the host. You can't be a motor mouth or you'll never be invited back. And it's a leverage tool for authors. I typically work with authors or people that want to expose their podcast to a greater audience, to show real logos, because I have an issue with people that use logos. They send out a press release across the nation and say, I was on ABC Channel 7 in Wichita.
Right.
No, you weren't. You wrote a blog post.
You sent out a press release over the wire. It got picked up by some affiliate links. Yeah.
And that's not legitimate press. You can't claim that logo. Or you commented on the blog for Fox. So what? That doesn't mean you were covered on Fox. One speaker I saw, and this is what happens out there. He said, I was on CNN. I said, really? I said, who were you with in Atlanta? I said, I had a show on CNN Philippines for a season. I said, when I was over in Asia. And he said, well, I was on CNN in America. I said, really? He goes, yeah, when CNN was on TV, I sat on it, sat on the TV. He was on CNN. Oh my gosh. Funny, but it depicts the reality of people stretching their media coverage.
Absolutely. So how do you become the true authority? You said you need to start with a book. Do you help people with that process?
Yes. I've ghostwritten about 60 books. I've also do one-on-one on occasion in the industry, only nonfiction, not a fiction ghostwriter. And I've also run many, while I was living in Asia, as many as 18, usually 12 to 18 people in an 8-week, how to ideate, write, publish, and then become a bestseller. Guaranteed. All international bestsellers. So I have people in various countries that'll help with the process of taking somebody to bestseller status in multiple countries. And then I also have my TV legitimization program, where the press legitimization, unlike a typical publicist who charges anybody that's worth their salt is at least $6,000 a month on a 3 to 6 month contract. I do what they will accomplish in about a year. I do in 2 days. 4 TV stations and a radio show, live radio show here in Vegas. You're branded for life. Then you can leverage that to possibly get into a larger market. Vegas is a prestigious market, but it's not LA. It's not KTLA 5 or Fox in New York City, Fox and Friends. That's the top of the market. If you can get into there, but Vegas is a great starting point, and it's respected around the country and around the world. Everybody knows it's the entertainment capital of the world. So I strategically chose and planted my feet here, got connected. The key is force connection, force it in. If you don't take action, who will? And I've got a little bit of a strong personality, which I developed when I wasn't shy anymore. So I'm sorry to ask you questions. It's in nature to go. I've been in that role a lot more than I best. So it comes out naturally.
Yeah, well, I love it. And you'll bring a lot of humor as well, which is fun. Not many guests will come on and bring humor to the show.
Well, why not laugh a little bit? Life doesn't always have to be harsh. Don't we choose to put on our own glasses in the morning? Yeah, I can be delusional. I can look in the mirror and say, Mitch, you're handsome. I can believe it. Reality, when I put my glasses on, then I see clearly.
You have jokes for days, I'm sure. I think we could have just done a comedic set for our show and everybody would have really enjoyed it and left very happy. So maybe we'll have to figure out a way for you to do that on a future episode. So yeah, you do a number of different things that really help people. We're going to talk about that after because I'm looking for some support for some people that I work with.
Great.
In all of those areas. So check. What does it look like to work with you today? Where do people start? But also knowing that you're spending time going back and forth between here and Asia, are you starting to decrease the number of clients that you have so that you can just enjoy?
A little bit. I am much more selective. I'm in a position now in my life where I work with people I'm comfortable working with. If you are a pain or a challenge as a client, please hear some people that might be able to help you. It's just better that way. Grief is not comfortable for me anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not hungry. I'm hungry to help people. That has it there, but I will select my meals accordingly. And I'm sure you're at the point where you don't want to be with difficult people either. No, it's not worth it, is it?
No, it's no fun. It's no fun.
Yeah, I learned that.
Yeah, we have to go through those times, though, to figure out what we accept and what we won't accept.
Very true. And my choice of clients typically are authors, speakers that I can help because I've been speaking for a lot of years. I've run many, many speaking trainings, never in the U.S., always in Asia. Yeah, because I ran my events in Dubai, ran 7 major events in Dubai, all the way through Japan, about 18 in Japan, which is a different market. Different challenges when you have to work with translation.
So what do you see for yourself next? You have your podcast, obviously. You have the podcast conference that you're announcing right here, right now, that you're going to host in Asia.
Yes.
What else do you want your life to look like?
I want to travel less with work. Love travel. I've visited 63 countries through my speaking career and then piggybacked on the tourism with these events. Like I accepted a keynote right before the pandemic in Lisbon, Portugal. It was for a company or a service that competes with Toastmasters called Agora Speakers. So I was their keynote speaker at that event. I'd never been to Portugal. So I accepted the invitation. And after I spoke, I had a line of people who wanted to work with me and wanted consulting because these were beginners and they wanted to enter the world of professional speaking. I had them all in stitches, laughing. I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry about fear when I speak because I've done it so many times. I've put in the hours. It's no longer any fear. Do I get butterflies before I take the stage? Minor, but they're gone in seconds today. I have no fear when I do podcasts, either as a host or as a guest. It's comfortable and safe. But in the beginning, for people, that is a big fear. And public speaking is still man's number one fear. And how do you overcome it? I mean, there are certain tools that I use with clients I was reaching for. I have to show you something. It's not typical, but when any of my speakers have challenges, and in some cases, if the audience is a little uptight, I share with them my travel chicken. And yes, little squeak toy stands up. See, you couldn't hold the smile, couldn't hold back on the smile. Just have a little bit of fun in everything you do. So I travel. This is in my bag. It never leaves me. It's with me. If someone isn't smiling and if I'm sitting working in a Starbucks, I squeeze this and somebody looks over. What? Everybody smiles. Everybody smiles. So my goal today, Annika, is to affect somebody in a positive way every day, whether I'm paid or not. I travel. I have all these. It may sound corny. What am I doing? What's this man that, he already admitted he's a senior citizen and he's using a rubber chicken.
It's a hook. And that takes me back to speaking. What are some mistakes that you see people make when they're trying to get booked on shows? Is it not having the right hook? Are there other things that they're doing?
A few things. It's all, again, I go back to the metaphor of the peacock. Are your feathers complete? I made a mistake. I found out, and thank you for sharing, a link on my site is not working properly. I'll have to look into that. I got to find another web person. Are your ducks in a row? Is your LinkedIn up to date? Because people look at you today. It's digital dating. It's digital review. You get Googled. Pretty soon you got Chat GPT. You got AI. What does it say about you? Are you who you say you are? You can't hide that anymore. And you've got to look the part. Do you have a book or books? If you're truly wanting to own your space, I mean, years ago, Avis built their whole marketing campaign on being number two. They couldn't be as big as Hertz, so we are number two, we try harder, was their marketing. So you do need a hook. What gives you distinction? What separates you a little bit from in the sea of sameness, from the same that other people, oh, I'm a chiropractor. Great. So you think pain or adjusting or loud noises, whereas if you change your elevator pitch to be unique to you, so you throw in who you help and how you help them a little bit, you may sound a little bit better than I'm a chiropractor or I'm Annika, I sell real estate. Great. Rather, have you ever looked at a home that you couldn't afford to own and now your dream can become a reality? Let's focus on the dream of where you want to spend with your family and loved ones. That's what I help people realize. And it's easier than you ever thought possible. That's a different way of reframing. I'm a real estate agent in downtown LA or wherever the market is. How do you dress it up with a story? Because story-based selling is a lot more effective than, hey, want to buy this?
Yeah. I'd rather be able to put myself into the story.
Yeah. Be in the story. And who's successful. I've seen so many people become greater than they thought possible simply by following the proven roadmap. Podcasting is growing. That's why I embraced it. I had this epiphany, this realization, light bulb moment when somebody approached me when I was speaking in Singapore about 7 years ago. He attended one of my events that I was speaking, about a 5-hour presentation, a crowd of about 350. He came up to me after and he said, I want to invite you to be a guest on my podcast. And I thought, oh, who is this guy? I don't know who he is. And again, I was still poo-pooing podcasts at this point. And he said, I just recently got through interviewing Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, who were here in Singapore. Now, I knew who both of those people were. I was living in Asia, but I know who my famous Americans are. I said, oh, I'll be happy to take that invitation. I thought, okay, I'll try the platform. He came over to my hotel. He did a live stream. So we had 3 cameras, 3 different iPhones set up at the time. So this is pre-pandemic by about a year or two. Well, I did the interview. He was not good at what he did, but he had a passion and a purpose. And this was his side gig. I did the interview and it resulted in 7 figures of income because of one person that was on the podcast. She listened to everything I had to say, reached out to me. Then we ended up having lunch when I was in Singapore. She introduced me to her network. She was big in MLM, multi-level marketing. And through her referrals, I made $1 million in revenue. So you have to say yes, because at some point it'll tip. I have stories of what writing my books have produced, the doors that have opened. Got to have a book. You're not serious in business or being a leader unless you have a book. Does Bill, the plumber, need a book as an employee for, ABC Plumbing Company? Maybe, maybe not. Is a book inside every person? Maybe, maybe not. But if you want to separate yourself and truly lead or be one of the leaders in your niche, you got to do what other leaders have done. Success leaves clues. That's why I embrace podcasting. Open my eyes like, my God, this did monetize simply as a guess. And then I set it aside. And then the pandemic came. And then I revisited this about a year ago and looked at, gosh, I got to do this. Let me guess for a bit, because I know it's important to learn from the other side. I wanted to be on your podcast some time ago, but you had a long waiting list.
Yeah, we probably booked this over a year ago. You're on my rate list for last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then all of a sudden I saw it on my calendar. Oh yeah, I remember this lady.
I'm so glad that you still wanted to be on it. I'm honored.
Yeah, well, thank you. But she had all these impressive numbers. And now I believe there are some potential synergies. I don't do what you do. And there's some things that I might be able to offer you. Listen, I do want to have you on this podcast summit of exceptional podcasters. I would love to invite Joe Rogan. I don't know if Joey will take my call. He's here in Vegas. But there will be others. And I will absolutely, I'm throwing this out, take your suggestion of other people.
I might have a couple.
Yeah, I bet you do. And I would love to invite on to add value to this. And I will then create a larger podcast event in person, probably in Singapore or in Bangkok.
Wonderful. Yes, I'd like to come in person.
Yes.
And I have a wonderful writer at the Bangkok Post.
Oh,
He's not living in Bangkok now, but he also was a VJ at MTV back in the day. Dave Kendall, host of 120 Minutes. Little shout out if he's hearing this. But yeah, so I'd love to introduce you to him. There's a huge tech community in Chiang Mai. Lots going on.
I used to live there. It's Nomadville.
Yep. Well, I know that you and I could stay on. I could ask you questions for days about all of your expertise and what people should or shouldn't do. But I'd rather have people reach out to you.
Okay.
And go to mitchcarson.com to get more information. We'll also have your LinkedIn and, of course, your website in the show notes.
Yes. LinkedIn would probably be easiest now that I realize that I have a little snafu with my website.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
But we're going to take care of that pretty quickly.
Yes, we will, Annika.
Yes.
Thank you for that, bringing that up. It's a little bit embarrassing, but things happen. Got to fix it.
Yeah. I've let my website just be about the podcast. So I get lots of people saying, you're not really talking about any of your services. I'm like, well, I'm doing a lot right now. So I'm good on that. But there will come a time when I need to refresh and, so it's just about where we are. And I do always say that this is the right time for you to have come on the podcast, particularly since you have discovered that you love hosting and that you're doing all these wonderful things. So I'm really looking forward to our continued conversations, Mitch.
Well, I'm going to invite you on to mine as soon as your schedule.
Okay. Amazing.
We'll have the amazing Annika Jackson.
Do you have a favorite quote, mantra, verse, poem, family motto?
Oh, gosh, I could quote, be corny and say, do it. But, I'm a big fan of action and pushing through the pain. You've got to put in the reps in order to get the big muscles. And if you don't put in the reps, you're not going to get big muscles. I love the gym metaphor. And it also goes back to my martial arts training, and I'd had a school for years. You don't get to earn your black belt overnight. You've got to endure some broken noses if you go that route. I've had a few, and some bumps and bruises to get there. Got to pay your dues. I suspect as an early podcaster, you learn some lessons to where you are today being a prolific professional podcaster. But in the beginning, it might have been hobby, but you got to put in the time. And I'll quote Thomas Edison. It's success in life is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. That's my favorite. It's not easy or it's not difficult. It just takes perspiration.
Yeah. You have to do the work. You have to do the reps. Well, Mitch, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's watching this episode or listening to it on your favorite platform. Please leave a rating, review, follow, comment. Let me know what you love, what you want to see more of, and how I can improve a little bit every day while you're improving a little bit every day too. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrandamplified.com.